If you want to see the top 5 cross-platform developer text editors, stick around. I'm not talking about editors that run only on one platform, like Notepad++ for Windows or BBEdit for Mac OS. I love Notepad++ for Windows. I usually install it on every Windows machine or VM I have, right? BBEdit used to be a go-to editor of mine back in the day, but not anymore. I use the following criteria to select these editors. First, they need to run on Mac OS, Linux, and Windows. Next, they need to support plugins, packages, or extensions. And they need to provide an API so developers can create their own packages. They need to be customizable. Think along the lines of themes and changing the font size, etc. Finally, they need to be substantially free or open source. And while one tool provides a paid version, the rest of the tools on this list are free or open source. Having said that, if you can swing it, I recommend supporting your favorite open source tool. If you like the tool that has the paid version, I recommend buying the paid version. And that's because behind the scenes of every one of these tools stands either one or more or a whole team and even a community of developers who make it possible to deliver the features that these tools support. First up, Sublime Text. Sublime Text is a great little editor. It has pay and community editions, supports GPU rendering, runs on Apple Silicon and Linux, ARM64, along with Intel 8086, right? Git integration, incremental diff, has a command line interface. You can run it from the command line if you want. It supports packages as its plugin architecture, and those packages are written in Python. It's extensible. You, as a developer, can write Python packages to make, create custom packages. It has a well-documented package API. It supports build systems, so for different types of development you're doing, you can integrate those. It supports a projects paradigm, right, where you can switch between projects. Supports indexing, which allows you to read all the files in a project and jump between definitions. Context-aware completions. These are just a few of the primary features, but this is an awesome tool, and it runs, obviously, on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. You can download it from sublimetext.com. Next up, Atom. Atom is the hackable text editor for the 21st century, according to their website, and it is really, really hackable. You can just about tweak every aspect of Atom that you can possibly think of. It's based on Chromium. It's written, or I believe implemented in Node.js. Has a little bit of CoffeeScript here and there, but packages are written in JavaScript. You can create, it's totally customizable. You use CoffeeScript object notation, CSON, for the config files. Supports snippets, Git. It has incredible Git and GitHub integration. The plugin architecture is referred to as packages. There's 80 core packages in the default distribution of Atom. Has a well-documented package development guide. Comes with a package generator, so if you want to develop your own packages, you just run that generator and it creates a project structure for you. You can develop in JavaScript, TypeScript, and I guess you could do it in CoffeeScript. I'm not familiar with CoffeeScript, but I know TypeScript and JavaScript, and you can crank out TypeScript code and it compiles down the JavaScript. It has a command line tool that lets you run Atom from the command line. And it supports real-time collaboration with Teletype. I haven't tried this, but I'm going to as soon as I get a chance, but that seems like a pretty cool feature. And you can download Atom from atom.io. Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. This is honestly one of my favorite IDEs technically, right? But a lot of developers that I work with and know love Visual Studio Code, not because it's an IDE, but because they just like using the text editor, and they like it. Why? Because it has IntelliSense, right? IntelliSense is really nice. especially if you're developing in TypeScript. Obviously, TypeScript is a Microsoft product. If you're doing any .NET Core development, but this programmer's editor just sings on many fronts, right? And Visual Studio Code has tons of extensions, right? That plugin architecture supports extensions. It has a well-documented developer guide for extensions, and you can program those in TypeScript and JavaScript. It's customizable themes. I'm kind of going backwards on this one. It has incredible Git and GitHub integration. And again, Microsoft owns GitHub, right? So that's pretty cool. It has a command line interface, so you can crank up this IDE from the command line like you can the other two before it. Integrated terminal, that's a nice feature. Code refactoring, debugger, and external tool integration via tasks. What's not to love about Visual Studio Code? It's an all-round great IDE, but if you just need a super nice text editor that has tons of features and highly customizable and package architecture, Visual Studio Code. Download from code.visualstudio.com. And now, everyone's favorite, VI or Vim? Vim, the ubiquitous text editor. On just about every platform, VI actually opens up Vim. So you have access to the Vim application. It's an improvement over VI. Nice thing about Vim is it's lightweight, has a Spartan interface by default, super duper powerful, which means it's intimidating. There's a lot of keystrokes that you really should learn, which means there's a steep learning curve. Comes with Git Bash on Windows, and I'll show you what I mean by that here in a second. Highly configurable with Vim script. You add the Vim script to the .vimrc file in your users directory. It's extensible via plugins, which are written in Vim script and linked to the script in the vimrc file. Unlimited undo, redo, supports external scripting languages. You can edit compressed files, and has a cult following, quite honestly, and it's tons. It's very useful, and I'll show you why, especially when you're trying to edit things cross-platform. Download from vim.org. Now, VI or Vim is a great little lightweight text editor that can be a little cryptic when you first get into it. But if you just invest some time in learning the command or the keyboard shortcuts, then your life is going to be a lot easier. It makes editing. I like using VI for editing like config files, quick little edits that I just need to open up the browser. I mean, not the browser, but open up the file, make a few quick edits. I know kind of where the line is, right? If I'm doing complex editing, I still tend to use Sublime or Visual Studio Code or some other like Atom, right? For those more complex editing tasks, right? But for just quick edits, man, VI can't be beat. And what you'll find is, it's a pain in the butt, man, to learn the code, the commands and the shortcuts for VI or Vim, right? But it pays dividends, right? Because you're going to find Vim. This is the Mac, right? So here, let me pull up VI. And here's why I say VI/Vim, right? Is on most every system, Vim is actually an improved version of VI, and Vim is what you have, right? So I hit VI, and it's got VI improved, right? That's what it stands for. Now, if I come over here and pull up a terminal in Linux, and I type VI, same thing. It's Vim. So VI for most modern OSs is redirected or symbolically linked to M, right? The improved version of VI. Now, so for Windows, right, it's a little bit more complex. Obviously, we're not going to pull up a prompt or a command prompt. Let's see here. I never did try this, right? So this is PowerShell. Let me see. Command plus. Nope. Command Shift plus. Oh, cancel. What I'm trying to do is make this code bigger. I think I have to do this. So edit or properties. Go to properties. and then I'll go 20, hit OK. And then when I do that, so this is PowerShell. I don't think VI is in PowerShell. Right. Okay. So it's not, right? So how do you get VI? It's not even in, it's not naturally loaded up anywhere. So VI, right? So what you do in Windows is where most of us, right, developers are using Git. So install Git Bash. I have Git Bash over here. So I open up a window. And you're like, oh, Bash, man, I have to learn a shell. It's like, well, yeah, why not? I mean, and I'll show you a great reason why you'd want to do this anyway, right? So let's see. I'm trying to make the text bigger. I can't do it that way. All right. Anyway, not going to do expand, but same here. VI, it comes with it. That's what the whole point, right? Is Git Bash comes with VI, and you know, if you're using VI in any context, then if you have it on your Windows with Git Bash, right, then you can just pop into VI, right? So now, I think one of the more compelling reasons to learn VI in the modern age is when you're dealing with Linux hosts in a cloud environment. And let me demonstrate that. All right, here I am in AWS, and I have an instance here. And I'm going to connect to it. So this is just an Amazon EC, Linux 2 instance. So we'll get the SSH client, copy that, and move this aside. And here I am in my terminal on the Mac. And I'm going to connect to it, but I need to change the key location. So let me do that so that I keep my keys in bin/AWS/keys/. All right, so yes. Okay, so now I'm in, right? So that's it, right? So you're logged in as a SSH session to a Linux instance in the cloud, right? And you need to do some editing. VI is your Huckleberry, right? Also Vim, right? So this comes pre-installed on your Linux instance, right, in the cloud. So I just kind of screwed everything up there. But anyway, escape, quit, right? I'll do VI again. All right. So anyway, that's one of the primary compelling reasons for why you want to know about VI, right? Because it cross-platform. Yeah, on Windows, you got to install Git Bash or some other type of Linux, utility that help you get VI, right? But since you're going to run Git Bash is a great utility, great application to have on your Windows machine anyway. I swear by it. And the nice thing about that is, right, so if you understand how to interact with, a Linux file system, right? So you get that Linux file system kind of a feel when you're interacting on a Windows machine with Git Bash. But most importantly, VI lets you edit files up on the cloud on a SSH instance. And of course, you could, go in there and customize Vim just like you customize it on your local machine. Right. So, Vim is powerful and Vim is, ubiquitous. It is everywhere, like the slide says. Right. So it's a great text editor, very powerful. And most people, like an iceberg, only scratch the very, very tippy top of the capabilities of VI, right, before throwing up their hands and calling it quits. But yeah, great little editor. So that's Vim, VI/Vim. Finally, Emacs. Can your text editor do this? Yeah, I didn't think so. Emacs is an incredibly powerful programmer's editor. It's intimidating, no denying that. Provides content-aware editing mode, syntax coloring, project planner. Yes, project planner. In org mode, you have org mode, allows you to do outlining. Mail, newsreader, debugger interface, IRC client, remote file editing. I'll give a demo on remote file editing here in a second. You can run shell commands. Has embedded games like you just saw. There's a whole bunch of them. One of the interesting features is, in these, how would you say it, challenging, unprecedented times that we live in today, right? If you need a little psychotherapy, you can consult Dr. Eliza. Org mode, I just mentioned, allows you to do some outlining. That's pretty cool. Super customizable, extensible with packages. It uses Emacs Lisp, full Unicode support. Talk about a cult following. Boy, Emacs has one. This is the only editor I've ever had to buy a swag package for because I felt so compelled to support it. From the Free Software Foundation. There it is at the bottom bullet. Huge online community. Conferences they have for Emacs. This is just a great, incredibly powerful editor. And you talk about, a lot of people just laugh at Emacs. I don't know why. I'm seriously considering putting more investment into it because there's so much it can do. And when I tried out the remote file editing, I was like, okay, I'm hooked. And the fact that it's got embedded games, that's even better. I'd like to show you how to edit a remote file on a Unix server with Emacs. So I've got Emacs running here in a window. This is on a Mac platform. I have iTerm up and running, and the instance I'm going to log into is on AWS EC2. So I have a temporary server here. And I'm just going to get the connection string just to test the connection. So I'm going to SSH into it. So I copied the connection and I will return to iTerm and I'll paste that in there. And then I have to change the path to my keys. So I'm going to modify this here real quickly. So it's bin/AWS/keys/. All right. So now with that, I hit return and I'm in. So now if I do a dir, I see I have a test.txt. I'm going to use VI, one of the editors in this series. VI to edit that. So test.txt. And I've got some short line. It says this is a test file. So I'm just going to exit out of here. Quit. Okay, now I'm still SSH'd into the server. Now I'm going to go over here to Emacs. Now the way that you connect to it is you say Control X, Control F, and it gives you this find file. So the protocol that we're going to use is SSH:. Now I'm going to paste in that connection string, but I'm just going to go back here and get rid of everything past SSH. So for Emacs, it is SSH:, and then user, and then host. All right, so EC2 user at host, at the host string. You find that in EC2, right, for that particular instance, and then : the name of the file. So it's test.txt. So that brings up the test file. Now I'm going to add another line here. So hello world. This is edited via Emacs. And I'm just going to hit save. So I think that's that icon right there. So it saved it. Now I'm going to exit out of that buffer. Now let's go back over to iTerm and pull that up with VI. Let me just hit the up arrow key, test, and there it is. Voila! You have edited a file remotely via Emacs.